Long ago in the kingdom of Ednea, young Princess Kitana stood beside her parents, King Jared and Queen Sindel, as her father prepared for a brutal battle against the ruthless Emperor Shao Kahn. Jared fought with everything he had and managed to hold his ground against the towering emperor. But just as victory seemed within reach, Shao Kahn made a shocking move. He allowed Jared's blade to pierce through his own hand, then used the opportunity to turn the attack against him. In one devastating strike, Shao Kahn drove his massive hammer into Jared, ending the king's life. With no choice left, Sindel and the people of Ednea bowed before the conqueror. Shao Kahn then looked at Kitana and declared that from now on, she belonged to him as his daughter. Years later, Kitana had grown into a skilled warrior and trained alongside her closest friend and protector, Jade. During one of their sessions, Jade gifted her a pair of deadly bladed fans. Soon after, they joined Shao Kahn and Sindel, where the emperor introduced Shang Tsung and gave him an important mission, to retrieve Shinnok's amulet, an artifact capable of granting godlike power. Meanwhile, Lord Raiden and Earthrealm's champions, Sonya Blade, Jax Briggs, Cole Young, and Liu Kang, learned about Shao Kahn's plan and realized they would need another fighter before the next Mortal Kombat tournament began. Back on Earth, Johnny Cage was far from the action hero he used to be. Once a famous martial arts movie star, he had now become a fading celebrity struggling to attract even small crowds at fan conventions. One day, Raiden and Sonya tracked him down in a parking lot and brought him to Outworld. Johnny was stunned when he saw Jax, Cole, and Liu Kang using powerful arcana abilities, while the only thing he could proudly claim about himself was being ridiculously handsome. After Sonya explained the deadly truth behind Mortal Kombat and warned him that people actually die in the tournament, Johnny quickly decided he wanted nothing to do with it and returned home. Elsewhere, the dark necromancer Quan Chi used his magic to bring Kung Lao back as a revenant warrior. He also resurrected Kano, but Kano had already become far too twisted to be controlled by anyone. Since Sonya had destroyed his previous laser eye, Kano convinced Quan Chi to give him a replacement. At the same time, Quan Chi recovered Shinnok's amulet from Kano, who had secretly stolen it earlier. Meanwhile, Johnny sat alone in a bar, drowning in his frustration. A fan recognized him and encouraged him to make a comeback, saying people still wanted to see him on screen. But Johnny had already lost faith in himself and believed his glory days were over. Before he could order another drink, something unexpected happened. He was suddenly summoned back to Outworld. The Mortal Kombat tournament finally begins as Johnny and Sonya step forward to fight for Earthrealm. Johnny's first opponent is Kitana, and he completely underestimates her abilities. Even without knowing what he's doing, Johnny somehow survives the match and avoids taking serious damage. But before Kitana can carry out Shao Kahn's command to finish him, Johnny suddenly collapses and blacks out. At the same time, Sonya is forced into battle against a corrupted Sindel. Sindel unleashes her devastating scream attacks, turning Sonya's own offense against her. Still, Sonya finds an opening, slips behind her, and fires her energy ring straight through Sindel's back before sending her head crashing onto a spike. With that brutal victory, the tournament score becomes even. After regrouping, Johnny admits to Raiden that he still doesn't understand why someone like him was chosen to fight in a war this important. Raiden tells him that what he lacks isn't skill, it's perspective. Not long after, the heroes are shocked when Kitana suddenly appears. She reveals that she has secretly been working as Raiden's double agent because she wants Shao Kahn gone once and for all. Before anyone can react, Shang Tsung arrives alongside Revenant Kung Lao. In a sudden attack, Kung Lao launches his deadly razor hat through the temple window, sending it straight through Raiden's throat. As Raiden falls, Shang Tsung quickly uses Shinnok's amulet to absorb his godly power. Sonya tries to stop him, but Shang Tsung escapes and returns to Quan Chi, who immediately channels the amulet's power into Shao Kahn, finally granting the Emperor the strength he had been seeking. As the next round begins, Cole is thrown into a fight against Shao Kahn while Jax faces Jade. Cole puts up a determined fight using his armored abilities and refuses to back down, but Shao Kahn's new power has made him nearly impossible to kill. Fatal attacks that should have ended him barely leave a scratch. Cole soon realizes he's outmatched, and Shao Kahn brutally ends the fight by slamming him down and crushing his head with his massive hammer. On the other side, Jax and Jade battle fiercely until Jax finally gains the upper hand. But instead of killing her, he chooses mercy, returning the same kindness Kitana showed Johnny earlier. The next matchup places Liu Kang against Kung Lao. Refusing to accept that his cousin is completely lost, Liu Kang desperately tries to reach whatever humanity is left inside him. But Kung Lao pushes back, attempting to pull Liu Kang toward darkness instead. During the intense fight, Liu Kang avoids wave after wave of Razor Hat attacks before finally seizing his chance. He drags Kung Lao directly into the spinning blade itself and defeats him. Even after winning, Liu Kang looks at his fallen cousin and promises that someday, he will find a way to bring him back. The champions eventually return to Raiden's temple, where they discover that he somehow survived the attack, although he has been left seriously weakened. The group also takes a moment to mourn Cole, knowing that one of their own didn't make it back alive. Realizing they stand little chance against Shao Kahn's growing power, they decide they need more warriors on their side. Their only option is to travel to the land of the Takartans. Meanwhile, Shao Kahn gives Quan Chi another mission, bring Bai Han, also known as Sub-Zero, back from the dead. Johnny joins Sonya, Liu Kang, and Jax on their journey to meet the Takartans and their fearsome leader, Baraka. Liu Kang respectfully asks Baraka and his warriors to fight alongside Earthrealm, but Baraka immediately refuses. That's when Johnny decides to open his mouth and calls the entire group pussies for backing down from a challenge. The insult instantly gets Baraka's attention. Instead of fighting Liu Kang, Baraka chooses Johnny since he was the one who annoyed him. At first, Johnny does what Johnny does best, run for his life. But eventually, he stops and actually starts fighting back. He dodges Baraka's deadly arm blades, lands a few unexpected hits, and somehow ends the fight with a brutal shot right where it hurts the most. Surprisingly, Baraka bursts out laughing and declares it one of the greatest fights he has ever had. Not only does he agree to help Earthrealm, but he also asks Johnny to teach him those moves. With their alliance secured, Baraka guides the heroes through a hidden entrance beneath Shao Kahn's palace. Elsewhere, Jade captures Kitana after discovering her betrayal. She brings her directly to Shao Kahn, where the Emperor reveals that Quan Chi has resurrected Sindel once again. However, Shao Kahn warns Kitana that if she refuses to cooperate, he will kill Sindel in a way that prevents her from ever returning. Even with that threat hanging over her, Kitana refuses to reveal the location of Earthrealm's champions. Furious, Shao Kahn orders her to be tied up in the town square as a warning to anyone else thinking of betrayal. The heroes eventually sneak inside the palace. Liu Kang immediately goes for Shinnok's amulet, but Shao Kahn catches him before he can escape with it. Liu unleashes his fire abilities against the Emperor while Jax desperately tries to break open the cage holding the amulet. Chaos erupts as Shao Kahn turns his attention toward the others. In a horrifying moment, he tears both of Jax's arms off before driving a fatal blow straight through his throat, leaving Sonya frozen in shock as she watches it happen. Meanwhile, Johnny suddenly runs into Kano. But instead of attacking him, Kano reveals something unexpected: he has secretly turned against Outworld. Not because he suddenly became a good person, but because he simply misses Earth and wants to go back to enjoying the things he loves most. Johnny and Kano return to Raiden and reveal an important piece of information: Bai Han is heading to Netherrealm with Shinnok's amulet. With the little strength Raiden still has left, he uses his remaining power to send them there. Inside Netherrealm, they encounter Hanzo Hasashi, also known as Scorpion. He spends his afterlife trapped inside an illusion of his old home, surrounded by the endless fire and darkness of the underworld. At first, Scorpion wants nothing to do with their war. But the moment he learns that Baihan has returned, everything changes. Meanwhile, Shang Tsung realizes that Raiden is weak and nearly defenseless, making this the perfect chance to finally eliminate him for good. Back in Netherrealm, Baihan has transformed into an even darker creature, a terrifying wraith known as Noob Saibot. Scorpion and Kano immediately attack him, but Johnny still feels useless since he hasn't unlocked any special powers of his own. At the same time, Sonya and Liu Kang head to the town square to rescue Kitana. But before they can free her, Shao Kahn arrives and attacks. During the battle, Liu Kang is struck and impaled. Just when it seems like he's gone, his body suddenly erupts into flames before disappearing, promising that he will return with his allies. Sonya uses her energy rings to free Kitana, giving her the chance to stand against Shao Kahn herself. In that moment, Kitana finally chooses her side and fully turns against the Emperor. Elsewhere, Jade joins Johnny, Kano, and Scorpion in their desperate fight against Noob Saibot. Together they unleash everything they have, even directing their powers at the amulet itself, but nothing is strong enough to destroy it. Johnny watches everyone risk their lives and finally realizes something: he has spent the entire journey doubting himself. For the first time, he accepts who he is and embraces the reason he was chosen. Then he steps forward and stares directly at Baihan. With complete confidence, he proudly declares, "I'm Johnny freaking Cage." In that exact moment, his arcana powers finally awaken. Filled with energy, Johnny delivers a devastating kick powerful enough to shatter the amulet and send Noob Saibot falling straight into a pit of lava. Shao Kahn also loses the godlike abilities he had been relying on, leaving him vulnerable for the first time. Kitana wastes no time. She relentlessly cuts through him with her razor fans before ripping off his helmet and exposing his horrifying face to everyone. Then she finishes him in brutal fashion, activating her spinning blades and slicing the tyrant apart piece by piece. With Shao Kahn finally dead, his reign of terror comes to an end. Kitana ascends as Adenia's new queen, but instead of demanding loyalty, she tells her people that they no longer need to bow before anyone. Sometime later, peace finally returns. Scorpion heads back to Netherrealm, while Johnny entertains Baraka and the Takartan children with stories of his heroic adventures, with a few extra details added in, of course. Kano tracks down Quan Chi and captures him, hoping to use his powers to bring back the fallen heroes. As the dust settles, a new team finally stands together: Raiden, Johnny, Sonya, Kitana, Jade, Kano, and Baraka. United at last, the heroes walk forward as Raiden calls down a massive bolt of lightning, ending their journey in true Mortal Kombat fashion. Just when all hope seemed lost, Johnny finally embraced who he truly was and unlocked the power he had been searching for all along. With Shao Kahn defeated and his empire finally destroyed, peace returned across the realms. But even though this battle had ended, a new team of warriors had already formed, proving that the fight for Earthrealm was far from over.